Guys, time for a look at our AM Minnesota this morning. John Anderson in for Gordy Kosfeld. And our special severe weather AM Minnesota this morning, brought to you by Faribault Senior Living, Geek Central, the Craig Keller Insurance Agency, Community Co-op Oil Association in Faribault and Morristown, and Upper Midwest Management. Also brought to you by Van Haren ICF, Owatonna Public Utilities, Zumbrota Telephone Company, Coles Electric, and the Heine Insurance Agency in Faribault. We have a number of guests in studio. We have Jennifer Hauer-Schmitz, who is emergency management. What's your official title? Is it emergency management for Rice County, Jennifer?
Emergency management director for Rice County.
Okay. Correct. And Dusty Dietz, City of Faribault Fire Chief, is here and also works with emergency management, and he's an avid turkey hunter too, we found out. So he's
correct.
Back. You must have got some turkeys if you're back already.
Yes, some of them stayed down there, but I got mine and came back early.
And we have John Rowan, Deputy Director of Emergency Management for the county, and also he's with Geek Central this morning.
Yep, that's correct.
So, thanks, John, for being here. Also, thanks to Geek Central for being a sponsor too. We've also got meteorologist Mace Michaels is standing by on the phone. We'll talk more to Mace coming up in the as we get into the second segment this morning. And we've got Severe Weather Awareness Week, and today's the big day of the two drills. And let's talk a little bit about what the purpose of Severe Weather Awareness Week, and I don't know who wants to jump in and start that.
I can start off.
Jennifer can.
Yeah, basically it's just to remind people that storm season is upon us, and people need to remain aware and alert and react if something should occur. And so we're here to remind people of what they can do and some of the options out there, and remind them about the watches and warnings that will be coming out. And also to create a plan, have a plan ready so that if something should happen, once you've practiced that plan, if something should happen, you'll be able to react much quicker.
And you've got some interesting things that you have to coordinate. You know, I mean, the county and the city kind of have to work together, because you've got some areas like, for example, the fairgrounds, which is, you know, some people kind of consider in the city of Faribault, but yet it's actually a county thing. So it gets kind of interesting, I bet, your territories that you have to cover, doesn't it, Jennifer?
But we all work together, and it works well.
And Dusty, of course, you've got responsibilities, especially as we get into a lot of the summer events. You've got to be aware of you've got to be you've got to be aware of people that are participating in outdoor activities and things.
Correct. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, it gets to be a pretty busy time of the year right now, and we need to make sure that everybody knows what they're doing and keep the eye to the sky. We do have our sirens that really their main goal is outdoor warning sirens. So once in a while we'll hear, well, I couldn't hear the siren from in my house, and that's not their purpose. So they are outdoor warning sirens. So when you're outdoors, and I live out in the country a little ways, and I can hear them a long ways away, but I can't hear them in my house, and they're never meant to be heard in your house.
And is there, I guess I'm not totally familiar, is there sirens throughout the county anywhere, or is it just mainly in the cities that they've got the sirens?
Oh, we have a total of 34 sirens all around the county, throughout the county. Obviously the majority of them are within the cities, but there are some around the county as well, out in the county proper.
And of course today will be a couple of tests of those sirens. There'll be one at about 1:45, and then again at 6:55 tonight, and I believe all of Rice County is participating in both drills, correct?
That is correct.
And I would imagine a number of other counties around the area are participating in both of those as well. I know some places aren't going to be doing the evening drill, but I think it's becoming more and more every year that people are doing the evening drill too.
The first day, or the first drill of the day, is actually meant for institutions and schools and businesses to practice that. And the evening drill is for families and for second shift workers to practice the plans. Okay.
It's our Severe Weather Awareness Week show this morning here on AM Minnesota. We'll get to more from our guests, and also from meteorologist Mace Michaels coming up in just a little bit. Our special Severe Weather Awareness Week AM Minnesota this morning. And we'll get back to more with John Rowan and Dusty Dietz and Jennifer Hauer-Schmitz in just a moment. We've got to bring on meteorologist Mace Michaels. Mace, what's your official? I know you were with Weather Nation. What should I call that you're doing now?
Harbor, and that's where they've located everything. Our company is Aris Weather and part of Medialogic Group. If you remember back from WCCO and Tier 11, Paul Douglas, he's my boss.
Okay. And Mace and I have known each other for a long time. Mace was working for me up in a station in northern Minnesota a long time ago, longer than we care to talk about.
Career. You're the first guy who hired me.
So I'm the blame, right? I'm the one to blame. So, but we've known each other for a long time, and I've always had an interest in severe weather. As Mace knows, I get kind of crazy when the severe weather comes around, and we want to talk about how to keep people safe and some of those myths that are out there that people still adhere to, especially when a tornado comes. Now, I guess the first thing we should talk about the difference between the watches and the warnings.
Easily confused because the terms are thrown around so much year to year. Watch, the basic part with that is it just means conditions are right. They're favorable for severe thunderstorms to develop. There could be a few around your area, or they may develop yet later on in the period that the watch is out for. So if the watch is out, the storm could become severe, or we've had reports from public, possibly law enforcement, emergency management, seeing, or storm spotters seeing some type of severe weather, whether it ends up being a tornado, hail larger than an inch in diameter, or wind gusts 58 miles an hour or higher.
Now, I've noticed that there's been an increase as the technology has gotten better. There's been an increase in tornado warnings that have been not necessarily off of spotters, but they've been issued off of radar indications.
Exactly. One improvement that has happened definitely over the last 10 to 15 years, but even in the last 5 with the upgrades to the Doppler radars, the 88D radars that are situated all over the country from the National Weather Service, is some of the new algorithms and calculations, all the fancy stuff that's put inside them to be able to detect the difference in the way the wind is going at certain levels of the atmosphere. We're looking for some type of wind twist or wind change over a small area, and when the radar is able to detect that, that's when it gives a good idea to meteorologists, especially at the National Weather Service, that there could be a tornado forming or developing. And usually, of course, that has to start somewhere high up in the sky. Obviously, a tornado starts up aloft at the cloud level. So if you begin to see that change in wind direction or twist over a short area, you can issue the warning ahead of time to give folks the heads up, even sometimes before the tornado drops. And that lead time has increased substantially from, when we started doing severe weather, John, it was a couple of minutes. Now, in many cases, you're up to 10, 20, even nearly a half hour in advance.
And the sooner you can warn people, the sooner that people can get to safety, and I think that's why we've saved a lot more lives that way.
Especially when you look at a lot of the coverage and some of the tornado warnings issued that are of the larger variety, the large EF4, EF5, EF3 type tornadoes that we can even see here, of course, in southern Minnesota, and we have in the last 5 to 6 years. Those are the ones that more lead time, the especially damaging ones, the extra lead time is needed on, and those are the ones that we'll really have been able to improve on, give more time so folks can get to shelter.
Now, I have to admit, I was in a mode for a while where I got kind of, when the warnings went off in the Twin Cities area where I live, I did like a lot of other people do. I didn't go to the basement. I went outside and started looking to the sky. And that kind of changed after 2011 when the tornado was about 2 blocks from my house. And I came to realize that, these things kind of need to be taken seriously.
Right, especially in a populated area like that. It wasn't a real large tornado, if I remember right, but rather substantial to fall in the metro area like that. Once it dropped down, you knew it was going to end up doing damage, no matter how long it was down for. So, yes, definitely, when you hear about a warning, it's not time to go outside and take a look to see what's going on. And if you are outside, it's time to get indoors because it's been...
And you see a lot of people nowadays, especially with all the social media and everything, they're out there with their cell phones and cameras and things trying to get video of these things. And I think a lot of times it's probably best left to the professionals to do that kind of thing.
The thing we watch in the office a lot is where the storm spotters are and the storm chasers are. And in many cases, the storm chasers that are out there, John, are no more professional than you or me. Well, I guess I'm a meteorologist, so I've got some level of profession there for chasing severe weather, but I'm not one who goes out and does that. One of the guys in our office actually manages a company where the storm chasers are out there, and we're able to see what's going on. So it's a real plus for notifying people, but a lot of people think they're storm chasers, and they're not, and it's just not something that's safe. And we also have a recording and a map that shows us where everybody is that's out storm chasing. In some of those days where it's prime for severe weather to develop, I don't even know how anybody's able to move on the roads, because there's hundreds of chasers that are out, and that's going to lead to danger. And we actually did see that last year, where some folks were injured and unfortunately lost their lives when the tornado caught up to them. And those were guys who were professionals and had been studying tornadoes for years, and some were even professors.
Now, I remember when I was a kid, Mom would always say, you know, hey, if a tornado's coming, we need to go around and open up the windows because otherwise the house is going to explode. And that's turned out to be kind of a myth, hasn't it?
Exactly. The pressure change is so insignificant, and plus, if you're running around the house trying to open up every window and a tornado's coming for you, obviously, if it's headed your way, that's a loss of time. But if the tornado's going to move into your house or move into your area, the debris is going to be far more damaging and take open the window anyway. Unfortunately, the glass is going to be the first to go if something's thrown into it, so it's not worth the time to do that. Wait it out.
It also used to be said too to kind of go to the southeast corner of the basement, and it just as long as I think it's now as long as you get into the basement and get yourself protected and get away from windows, I think that's kind of the best thing now, isn't it?
That's the biggest worry, exactly. Debris flying into windows, flying into somebody, it just becomes something that could quickly become lethal. So shielding yourself, covering yourself, and under something sturdy. We always say a staircase, an interior room, like if you have a bathroom in your basement, or a small little area that's bounded by the concrete in the corner. Those are always safe spots, because if debris is going to fall, and in worst case, if your house does take a direct hit from a tornado, the debris is just going to fall down right upon. Well, if you're in a corner or in a smaller room, at least the walls can shield you, and if the ceiling or the floor up above holds in as well, you're shielded. So those are just some small reminders. But yeah, if you've got one coming and it's coming right away, in best case, get downstairs. That's the first thing, because it can obviously.
And obviously, if you're in a mobile home, you want to abandon that if you can and get to a safe shelter.
Are very dangerous because, of course, they're easy to be picked up by the strong winds and wafted. And unfortunately, we've seen video of that time and time again, the aftermath, where a tornado has struck or moved close to a mobile home park, and it easily flips those structures over because they're not as secured down to the ground. So yes, getting out of mobile home, heading to some type of storm shelter, a designated shelter in that area, a friend's house underneath, getting to the lowest floor. That's always the key, and underground if possible.
Yeah, one more comment from you here, and then we're going to take a break and then come back to our studio guests, and I'll let you go. But what is your kind of thoughts on this year? Last year we had kind of a quiet, active year. I don't think we had any tornadoes in Minnesota last year, or maybe it was only like one. And the year before that, obviously, was kind of an active year. What is the kind of the thought as to how this year might be?
Yeah, definitely last year was below average, one of the lower in long time. I can't remember what the official count was across the state, but it was pretty low. We're starting the season obviously pretty quiet, even around the country. There hasn't been a lot of major type of severe weather outbreaks, let alone big tornado-producing days. Obviously, was it a week and a half ago, we had the large, devastating one in northern Illinois, but outside of that, it's been pretty quiet. There's no indication that that's going to change, at least in the next several weeks. As you look down the road into May and June, that's kind of more prime for our tornado months, May, June, even early July. So as we start to warm up, if some of the colder plunges of air doesn't get out of here, sometimes that can lead to a busier season. So I'm not a good long-range forecaster, John. I handle the short-term stuff. But from the talk in the office is that it'll end up being busier than last year, but probably not, one of those years where we're off the charts, thank goodness.
All right, well, thanks for all of your input this morning, and we'll keep in touch, and you take care, and it was good talking with you. All right. Meteorologist Mace Michael is joining us on our Severe Weather Awareness show this morning, and we'll get back to more comments from our in-studio guests in just a moment. It's our Severe Weather Awareness Week show this morning, and we have in studio John Rowan from the Deputy Director of Emergency Management for Rice County, and Jennifer Hauer-Schmitz, and the Emergency Management Director for Rice County, and also Dusty Deans, the Fire Chief and Emergency Management for City of Faribault. Dusty, your crew has got not only severe weather to worry about, but you're kind of on fire alert too this week.
Yeah, this weather, the dew points are staying low. Looks like this weekend we got some rain coming, so that'll put a damper on it. But this time of the year, a good wind and a little bit of sun, and whatever rain did to moisten up the ground and the dead grass goes away fast.
How does your crew in the city of Faribault start to react when there's severe weather issues?
We subscribe to WeatherTap. It's a radar. It's a very nice radar system. So they will get on the computer and track that, and on there you can also track the spotters, the county spotters, and see where they're at. And we have on our new radio system. Well, it's not new anymore, but our radio system now we have direct contact with Rice EOC, even with the talk group that the spotters are on, so we can listen to what's going on in the county.
And do we know how many weather spotters, or official weather spotters, there are in Rice County, in the Rice County area?
I would say for Rice County we have about 15. Northfield has their own group. Lonsdale and Morristown have their own groups as well, and we all work together.
And what do folks have to do if they're interested in becoming a weather spotter?
You just got to get in contact with the agency that would serve your area. So if you're interested in Northfield, or if you live in the Northfield area, you'd contact their emergency management director. If you're in the county at large, you can contact Jennifer or myself. If you're in Morristown, you'd contact
Bruce Morris.
Bruce Morris. He's also on the fire department over there, so they can get you hooked up.
Somebody had told me once that to be a weather spotter, you need to be a ham radio operator. Is that true or not? Or?
No, we discontinued that practice in 2004. We prefer that you are, but it's not a prerequisite. In fact, What happens is a lot of people come in to be Skywarn spotters and then end up getting ham radio certified because they realize how important it is.
Okay. And Jennifer, what are some of the things that have to happen with your people in the county? Because Rice County is a fairly large county, and you could have severe weather probably at one part of the county and maybe not at the other part of the county. Does that get a little crazy once in a while, or?
It can. Thankfully, the notices that we receive from the Weather Service actually they can define the area that's threatened directly. So when the alert comes out, we know which area to actually be watchful for. So those spotters in that area are the ones that would go out and start spotting that area. We also have law enforcement out and about watching the skies as well.
So when we have days where the sirens are issued, where the sirens have to go off, who's responsible for getting those alerted?
It would be either our dispatch can set them off, and Rice County also has the ability to set the sirens off from our EOC, so we can do that as well. It's kind of a backup system if we'd have to.
Now, do they set them off for the whole county, depending upon, or do they just set them off for parts of the county, depending upon where the storm may be?
Our sirens are actually zoned out, so again, back to the area where the threat is at, we can actually set the sirens off in that location. So if something was happening in the Morristown area, we wouldn't necessarily have to set sirens off up in the Northfield area, just for an example.
Okay.
And that's a good point, because the state is actually really pushing to notify just in the specific areas. And in the past, Dakota County, for example, would set the sirens off for everything in the county at once. And since the state has really been pushing this recommendation, even they are getting on board with doing it in sectors.
Well, I know, because I've got some family members that live in Burnsville, and they say, they even for a severe thunderstorm warning, they've set the sirens off, and I think people get a little bit too. I think they become complacent if they start hearing the sirens too often. It's like, oh, it's just whatever. But
right. And we shouldn't just get hung up on tornadoes. I mean, severe weather is also flooding, which kills more people than tornadoes. So when you see a flooded road, turn around. You don't want to go through. And another concern is lightning. If it's lightning outside and you're outside, you better get running and get out of the area.
And we know, Dusty, it was just a few years ago here in Faribault we had the flooding issue happen, which kind of surprised a lot of folks.
Yeah, do we have to talk about flooding, John? Yeah, you know, unfortunately, we're pretty good at it right now, and that's not bragging, but that's just what happens when you go through it a couple times. So, you know, we have a pretty good plan, pretty good idea who's going to get what as the water comes up. So, you know, I feel they're a little more predictable than some of the other things, because obviously there's some things that have to go on before it can start to flood, and when we know where the water's going to go, we can prepare ahead of time for that.
You get a little more lead time. It's not like the 10 or 15 minutes you get with a tornado.
Right, right.
So
I also want to encourage people to go onto the city or the county website and get signed up for the Everbridge system. That's a notification system on your cell phone, and you can get it through your home phone also. But we're really trying to get the word out there, because like we talked earlier, the notification of bad things happening, the sooner the better. And you know, we can't stop a tornado from coming down, but if you know it's coming and you can get to safety, that's the main thing.
well, another good thing for people to probably just do is, if you're out and about, just pay attention to the sky too. I mean, you can have a nice day and then all of a sudden it starts getting dark, and then, you know, people should maybe be on the alert then as to what may be happening.
I'd like to add to that, if I could, please.
Sure.
That's when people, they need to have their means of receiving weather notifications of some sort. Now, whether that is having NOAA weather radio available, which will alert you to when there's any bad weather in your area, or you know, listen to your local TV stations, your radio stations. On your phones, you could have, there's several apps out there now that you could download. Some are free, and some there's a small charge for. But the more prepared you are, and the better notifications that you have, the more you're going to be able to react to whatever is happening.
Now, of course, we'll always have alerts here on KDHL as well. We also get them on KDHLradio.com and alert people too as things develop. And so be sure to stay tuned to us as well, and we'll always try to keep you up to date.
I'd like to encourage people at 7 o'clock tonight to take part in that drill at home. Just like fire drills, we do a good job when we're in our place of work or school and we know what to do, but at home, where we spend most of our time, we're least prepared there.
And we'll let the mock alerts go through today. Even at 1:45 when we have the Twins games on, we're still going to let the mock alerts go through, because we want to make sure all of our stuff is working here too. So we'll be broadcasting that alert as it comes through this afternoon for the mock tornado watch and the mock tornado warning. So the Twins fans out there, be alert to that. We are going to let that happen today. But anything else? We're going to run over here a little bit, but this is important stuff, so we want to be sure to let everybody know about it. Anybody else have anything to add that we haven't covered yet this morning?
I guess I just want to remind people to create a plan if you don't have one already, so that you're going to know where to go, and your family members will know where to go if something should occur and you're going to have to take shelter. It's just important to have that knowledge ahead of time so that you can react quickly and go right to that shelter to protect yourself.
And you want to be sure to bring things with, like a flashlight and a radio, and of course maybe have some extra batteries in case you're stuck in some spot for a longer period of time, and maybe have some water standing by in an emergency place, so you've got that. And anything else? So all right, well, thanks for coming in this morning. We appreciate it. And again, those drills are going to happen today at 1:45 and about 6:55 tonight. So when those sirens sound today, think about what you're going to do, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks a lot for coming in this morning.